Hey guys, what's up? Chainer here again, and today I want to talk to you guys about a last minute change for patch 2.2 that affected the Barbarian class and the meta of the Barbarian builds, especially in Greater Rift progression. Alright, so what happened was they removed a Barbarian item called Mortix Bracers, and what this item did was give Wrath of the Berserker every rune. Alright, so let's start off with in the first patch of the PTR for 2.2, Mortix was actually a pair of pants, and it did the same thing, but it kind of got in the way of using multiple sets because pants eventually became an Immortal King slot, and it was the new Wrath of the Waste or the Whirlwind set slot, and they changed it to bracers. But they also made the 4-piece of Immortal Kings whenever you spend, let's see, right here. Okay, so reduce the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker and call the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 Fury you spend with an attack. So this makes it so that you can't just dump Fury on Battle Rage. You actually gotta spend it using something like Whirlwind or Hammer the Ancients and Seismic Slam. And this actually enabled those builds to do very well. But as you know, in the higher end Greater Rift tiers, incoming damage gets pretty heavy. And this is where the bracers really came into play. So, with the bracers, I mean, we usually just go for Wrath of the Berserker Insanity to get that 50% increased damage buff. That really helps us push to the next level in Greater Rift progression. But what we also got with these bracers was Slaughter, which whenever you crit, you deal 300% damage in a 15-yard radius, very similar to Battle Rage Bloodshed, which actually this patch got a nerf because it used to double dip. So it would apply the bonus stats like twice, and it's hard to explain, but it was doing a lot more damage than it should have been. And that got kind of toned down. It's still pretty good, but now it's more even with the other Battle Rage Bloodshed runes, maybe slightly below. It depends on the build you're playing, I guess. But this is what was really key right here, is that you also got Striding Giant, which reduces damage taken by 50%, and Thrive on Chaos, which gave you 5.3k life per Fury. So these two together is like having Ignore Pain, Ignorance is Bliss up all the time without actually having to use the skill or use the belt or get high cooldown reduction or anything. And these two runes kind of pushed you to that next level of defensive capabilities of being able to play Whirlwind in really high-end Greater Rift progression, because you got the damage reduction there, you got damage reduction from, say, Unity, or, you know, whatever kind of build or gear choices you decided to use. Getting every single rune on Wrath of the Berserker was humongous and really push the capabilities of things like the new Whirlwind build. With the new Wrath of the Waste set, the 4-piece, you get 40% damage reduction while using Whirlwind. I have collected a few pieces. Let's see if we could pull up a piece here. Right here. Okay, so 4-piece, during Whirlwind you gain 40% damage reduction. You can get the damage reduction from the Unity, and then you get Wrath of the Berserker damage reduction, and it's really big. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, now Whirlwind and all this stuff is completely useless, but the capabilities are a bit lower. I mean, that goes without saying. I mean, you take away all that powerful stuff that was permanently up for the Barb. Like I said, it's like using Ignore Pain permanently without having to use a skill slot, a belt, get a bunch of cooldown reduction, and so on, that you're gonna lower the capabilities. Now, it's still probably pretty good, and with the right gear and everything, it's still, with certain variations, 50 plus capable. Let's say 50-ish. I can't give you an exact number because more than the player, the build, or anything. It's the RNG or the randomness of the greater rift that you get, because certain monsters are a lot easier to deal with. You know, you could go through a whole entire rift where every champion pack has super easy affixes, and then you get say Stone Singer at the end, who's like a very easy boss who has a lot lower health than all the other bosses and stuff like that. But this is what happened. They removed the bracers, and a lot of people are really kind of upset about that, I guess, because it does take away from the capabilities. But from what I'm seeing is that, you know, now Furious Charge, Whirlwind, and all these different builds are in a very similar power range now. Because with the Whirlwind set and the Mortix bracers on the PTR, I was seeing people doing high 50s and stuff. There might have even been a 60 clear on the PTR with these bracers, and that's pretty crazy. I don't think Whirlwind is necessarily like garbage now. I think you know, it'll be okay. Of course, there's going to be a little different power variation, but because of the major change of this one item getting removed, it changed up a lot of what's going to happen, a lot of the metas. So, you know, right now people are still kind of trying to gauge the different builds and see how far they'll go without the bracers and stuff like that. But right now I'm still trying to collect all the pieces and stuff. Certain things I really need though is you know, I need one of the new ancient IK weapons, because I have a few of the old ones, but they don't have the 70% Call of the Ancients damage, and that's pretty key. Both Kathos weapons are really good now, since without the bracers and stuff. I hear people are using the six piece wastes, which makes you get Dust Devil Rune, which is just little tornadoes that come out, and it makes them do 2,500% damage. And now this, how often they actually spawn is dependent on your attack speed. So what we're seeing people using are the new Bokathos weapons, which unfortunately I didn't save a pair of ancient ones, and I feel kind of shitty for not saving a pair. But if you have them, awesome, try them out. But what this does is gives you 30% increased attack speed and movement speed while using Whirlwind, so that's really good. And it looks like there's still opportunities for Whirlwind builds and stuff like that. Whirlwind's still pretty good. In T6 you could use Furious Charge, you could use Whirlwind. Personally, I've tried the 6-piece Immortal King's Whirlwind, and then right now what I'm using is a hybrid of 4-piece Immortal King and 4-piece Raycor, which allows me to get permanent Wrath of the Berserker, which is really, really awesome. Since I can't spend Fury with Battle Rage, what I do is I put a few points into my Paragon of Fury, so I have 160 Fury pool, and whenever it fills up I just toss a Boulder Toss down. It spends the whole 160 Fury, and I get a huge amount of time off my Wrath of the Berserker. All I gotta do is like spend 2 max Fury Boulder Tosses every 20 seconds, and I could pop Wrath of the Berserker again. It's very easy to keep it up permanently. It's really fun stuff. And what I'm seeing right now is that a lot of the different things I'm trying with Barb, the power level of the builds are very close. I think in the end there's gonna be a lot of different variations of greater of 50 plus builds, but in the end, if I'd have to kind of gauge and kind of just guess what's gonna be the meta for the Barb in patch 2.2, I'm honestly thinking that the same build used in the previous patch, pure Furious Charge Raycor build, is probably going to be on top. But again, that's just a guess. I mean, I could be wrong. From what I'm seeing, from what I know, from my experiences, I'm thinking the Raycor build is just going to be on top because of the capabilities of it. You could use the Unity plus the Stone of Jordan. You got the Furnace, and then you could still use Pride of Cassius, etc. And I think it's going to be the way to go. I mean, there's been lots of success with this build, and this build hasn't really changed in this patch. But with the new builds, they have changed, and their defensive capabilities are a lot lower. In the end, though, I think we're going to see different variations of Barb builds coming very close. And like I said, it's more the Greater Rift itself. So there might even be cases where a build that's not so popular and not so strong actually gets a higher clear than the more mainstream build. But I really like this. I really like that Barb has options in patch 2.2. I mean, some people are really upset because the bracers are gone, but I mean, it is what it is, guys. Things like this happen. It's just the way it is. Things like this happen. If it didn't happen this patch, it could happen the next patch or the patch after that. But right now, what's exciting is that we have a lot of new options. We have a lot of new things to try, a lot of new pieces of gear to test out, a lot of new crazy concoctions of builds that we could come up with and try to push as far as we can in Greater Rifts and all that stuff. So if anything, look forward to that, guys, because I think this patch is pretty good for Barbs. I mean, it's not like the new sets are terrible. They're still pretty good. And like I said, Whirlwind, Furious Charge, IK, or any IK variant, mixed sets, IK Raycore, IK Wrath of the Wastes, all these different combinations you could think of. Maybe even Seismic Slam or Hoda could be brought in somehow. I don't know. But I see a lot of potential in Greater Rift 50 plus solo capable builds, and that's what's exciting. So after this video, which I'm just wrapping up now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys the build that I was using the first day of the patch, and this is the IK Raycore build, and it's really fun. So I'm gonna put this video up now, and then I'm gonna go film this build, so stay tuned, and I'll hopefully have the next video up within an hour. You guys could check that out. So alright, see you guys in a few. Later.